Hey guys, Rich from Richmond Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well, and welcome to this, a brand new series aimed at completely new players looking to get into Marvel Crisis Protocol. By the end of this series of videos, I really hope that you have all of the information you need to be able to go out there and play your games of Marvel Crisis Protocol with whichever affiliation you are wanting. Now, just to clarify, we're not going to go through any rules in these videos. I've done lots of rules videos. You'll find links down in the description below, but instead we're going to look at what you actually need to get started playing Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, the one question that gets asked probably more than any other question by new players who come onto the forums, come onto the Facebook groups, into Discord channels is, where should I start? Should it be the core box? Now, in a lot of other games, you don't need to start with the core box because all of the components can be sourced individually, or you may not need everything that's in the box, or it just doesn't offer very good value for money. Well, I'm glad to say that that is most definitely not the case for Marvel Crisis Protocol. There are a number of components that you need to be able to play this game. You obviously need characters, you need some terrain, that's really important. You need a group of what's called tactics cards, and then you need some crisis cards. And this box gives you absolutely everything that you need to be able to get started. So it comes with 10 character miniatures represented from 2 separate factions. You've got a daily bugle stand, you've got 2 cars, 2 dumpsters, 2 traffic lights, 2 lampposts, 170 tokens. Tokens are something else that you need for the game. Team tactics cards, 3 map cards that show you exactly where all the maps need to be laid out, 2 affiliation cards, 10 character stat cards, they're the cards that you use to actually play the game, 6 objective cards, 3 movement tools, 4 range tools, 1 learn to play booklet, and 10 dice. But you may be saying to me, Rich, well, I've looked at the core box and I've looked at the characters you get in the box, and they're not really of interest to me. They're not really something that I am particularly interested in. So I'm just going to go and buy individual characters. And yes, you can absolutely do that. But let's take a closer look at some of those components that we need to play in the box and see what actual value we're getting from it. So the first thing that's in the box that you're going to need are some dice. Now, Marvel Crisis Protocol, you can't buy third-party dice anywhere for this game. You need to use the official ones, especially if you want to go to organised events and that sort of thing. People will insist that you use the official dice. Now, it comes with 10. And that is really more than enough to be able to play a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Yes, you can buy them separately, but they're coming in at around about $12 to $15 USD to be able to buy those. Second of all then are the tools that we use for movement and range. So we get 7 tools in total. That's 3 movement tools, short, medium and long, and then 4 range tools, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can turn any of those on their side and it's going to give you a range 1. Now, whilst both of these are available by third-party providers, and I actually use some third-party ones myself, they're still going to set you back in the region of $20 to be able to pick those up. Lastly then is the terrain, and I reeled off that list of terrain that you get in there, and the most comparable thing is probably the NYC terrain pack, which is kind of an add-on that gives you, I believe, roughly the same amount of terrain that you get, and that's coming in at $49.95. So even if we just forget the characters for the moment, the core box is a $99 box, but realistically, you're not going to be paying that much for it. I know here in the UK, you can pick it up for sort of £70, £75 from most local gaming stores. And over in the US, I've seen it go for about $80 to $85. So we're already spending not that much more money to get 10 additional characters and their stat cards. In addition to the characters and those character cards, there's also the other 2 sets of cards that I spoke about. These are the crisis cards. Now, the crisis cards are what we use to actually play the game. And in the core box, you get 3 red extraction and 3 blue secure, giving you the 6 that you need to make your first ever roster. Now, the way that you go and get additional crisis cards is they come in character packs, but not every character pack has the crisis cards in there. They're only selected ones. So even if you decide you want to play Guardians of the Galaxy, if you went and bought all of the Guardians characters and didn't buy the core box, you're not going to have enough crisis cards in there to actually be able to play a full game of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Lastly then are the team tactics cards. Now you take 10 team tactics cards in your roster, and these range from everything from cards that individual characters can use, some team affiliated tactics cards, and then there are just tactics cards that can be used by anyone. And the core box comes with a huge number of them. And once again, the only other way to be able to get these tactics cards are, of course, to buy the character packs. Now, most character packs, or I think all character packs to date, have tactics cards in them. But again, there's not going to be enough tactic cards to make up that 10 that you need to play the game. So overall, guys, you're getting a huge amount of value. It's also worth noting that towards the back end of 2021, Atomic Mass Games re-released a lot of the characters that are in the core box, or re-released the stat cards for all the characters that are in the box. So they're even more prevalent now than they ever have been. Some of the characters that come in that box are some of the best characters in the entire game, and you can take them along with any affiliation that you want to play. What else then do you need that maybe doesn't come in the box? Well, these are all miniatures that require assembly. So at the absolute bare minimum, you're going to need some form of glue to be able to stick these miniatures together. Now they can be quite fiddly, so I would highly recommend something that had some control on there. I personally use the Tamiya poly cement. There'll be a link down in the description below. That's really easy, and because these are all plastic and they're on sprues, you really want to be using a poly cement if you can, because you're going to get a much better bond. Painting these characters is more than optional. It's something that a lot of people enjoy. It's something that just isn't for everyone. Most gaming centres and most events run by people, at least in the UK and I believe in the US as well, will not demand that miniatures are painted. We're not in Games Workshop territory anymore, people. But if you do want to paint them up and you've never painted before, some of the Citadel Contrast or the Army Painter Speed Paints are really handy. I'll also put links down in the description below to my two favourite Marvel Crisis Protocol painters. That's Epic Duck Studios and Sarastro's Painting, who have some fantastic guides to help you through and have all covered off the core box characters. Lastly then is you need a surface to be able to play on. So Marvel Crisis Protocol is played on a 3x3, so that's a 3 foot by 3 foot map, and it's really important that you get something as close to that as possible, because when we're measuring to deploy all of our crisis tokens, we're going to be measuring from the board edge, and different characters can move varying amounts, so short, medium and long. They've all got different sized bases, so it's a real critical point of the game that we try and keep to that 3x3 map if possible. Lastly then is you probably will want some more scenery or some more terrain once you've played your first couple of games of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now you get about 13 points worth of scenery in the core box itself, so the list that I reeled off earlier, and to play a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol you want somewhere between 25 and 35 points of terrain in total. Now, every piece of terrain from Marvel Crisis Protocol has a number underneath, and they've got some fantastic sets that you can go out there and buy. They are, however, on the more expensive side, so really anything will do. If you've got some terrain from other games, get it thrown in there. I would highly recommend prioritizing buying some additional character packs over setting up your terrain so it looks absolutely perfect, especially if you're intending on playing at local gaming stores, as they tend to already have some fantastic terrain set up anyway. I also want to give a shout out to some other resources that are out there that are really going to help you on your Marvel Crisis Protocol journey. The MCP database, run by the guys from across the Bifrost, is a fantastic repository of every single card, character, tactics card, crisis cards that's been released for the game. And not only that, you can go in there and see what character pack it comes from as well. So if there's a particular character or indeed a particular card that you want to get your hands on, you'll be able to go in there and find where it comes from and where you can get it from. Secondly is the Atomic Mass Games website itself. Now, in there is something called the affiliation list. Affiliations are the different teams that we have in the game. Now, it's a little bit hidden away, but if you go to the Atomic Mass Games website, click on the little three buttons in the top right-hand corner, and you'll see something called Organized Play. Click through to there, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see something called Affiliation List. Now, this is going to give you a list of all of the different characters and which affiliations they are part of. So really, really helpful when you're looking to build your first roster. The last thing on the Atomic Mass Games website then are the rules. Yes, you get some rules in your core box, but those rules are going to be very, very outdated. We had a big change at the end of 2021. The rules are constantly changing. It's a living rule book, but rest assured, any Games Workshop players out there, you're not going to have to fork out sort of $35, $40 every time a new rule book is introduced. They're all on the website. They are all completely free of charge. Once again, link down in the description below. So there we go, guys. That is everything you need with the core box to be able to get up and start playing Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, obviously, you're going to want to look at a particular affiliation. Maybe you love Green Goblin, maybe Kingpin's your guy, maybe you really like the idea of playing Dormammu, but rest assured, as part of this series, we're going to be going through each of those affiliations in turn, and I'm going to be looking at each of the character packs that you want to purchase on top of the core box to be able to create a fun to play roster for each of those affiliations. Guys, we have a Discord server, especially if you're a new player. Head over to the Discord server. There's over 300 people on there now. You can ask questions about rosters. We've got all the latest spoilers that are on there, plus some of our other favorite content creators are on there as well. I hope this video has been useful. If it has in any way, shape or form, all I ask is that you smash that like button and make sure you take a look at the other videos in this series where we look at each affiliation in turn and which packs I think you should be buying to make a roster for each of those. Guys, as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.